have those trade-offs, but they all should be relatively easy to deal with after seeing them come online. There's Stukov you were talking about.
I was sort of joking a little bit into so much, but at least get something higher. So I'm really happy that it was the Malthael there. He already is going to be a good solo laner for the team too.
And it's not like Roll20 has any solo laners to be able to deal with it, at least so far into their draft. They do have the Stukov though, so we'll accent their 4-man pretty effectively. We still see the slowing sands of the lurking arm combo. Gonna be honest though, compared to the Tyrande we saw earlier today from game number 1, it was not nearly as clean as that. You know, the Tyrande hit a lot of lunar flares afterwards. It was very rare we saw Stukov lurking arm actually be impactful with the garage throw.
So what is a final pick for Goku that can give some of that follow-up that's necessary for a garage combo? Maybe, no. I'm thinking it'll be another warrior, but then still you have warriors into Malthael with the % damage.
I mean, you can run a 2-on-2, stop a lot of the bleeding, especially with a Chromie. You're really good anti-tri-lane, like a 1-3-1 composition. Chromie directly is very good at stopping the 3 from getting effectiveness, so I don't hate the idea of committing to a 2-1-2 on the side of Roll20. It does really hurt their early game. They have to stop the early Webweaver phases, and now committing to the Johanna, Tassadar, and Malthael, their wave clear is reasonable enough. Their siege lacks a little bit, but the wave clear is high enough that they're going to be impactful with these Webweavers. So it is a bit of a wonky, you know, kind of awkward spot, at least so far for Roll20, at least with what I can come up with off the top of my head. I think I like the Arthas the most, I'm going to be honest.
It's either Arthas or Leo for me.
Yeah, Diva.
What about Diva?
Not the one I was thinking. It's going to do better into the laning phase matchup itself, but when it comes to actual... Oh, never mind. What? I forgot. I was sitting there going like, I'm not seeing enough cross synergy, and then I forget that Garrosh just has the opportunity to just flip and just go ahead and throw mechs into lethal areas.
How could you forget that?
And so suddenly I'm like,
casting that for 5 games.
Oh wait, suddenly there is enough synergy for I can see the justification of the pick. But this is a case where Tempo has enough going on, enough well-rounded of a composition that if they're effective during the first 2 Webweaver phase, specifically, can they stall out the first one, get it, and then secondary, you know, double down, which, let's be honest here, North America typically is pretty poor at getting the double turn-in strategy on Tomb. But if that is achieved, and the comp can do that here, I think they might find about a level and a half lead, and that be big enough to bully the members of Roll20 around. But Tempo, again, they haven't played to their compositional strengths very much recently. Out of the last couple of games we have got for them, more than just an HGC and A, more looking at the Western Clash and then now here. And so I'm not sold they'll be able to do that. I'm very still skeptical of it, especially with Garrosh on the other side. Why should I assume that Roll20 is not just going to go ahead and flip you over and get a kill? The only difference is there will be an Iron Skin Johanna walking away at 10% more often. Doesn't make it any better. She just less experience giving up.
Yeah, that has been the constant issue for every Warrior player, main Warrior who goes up against Roll20's Garrosh. We're ready for Game 3. Let's see if Tempo Storm can bring it back and take us further in the series, or if Roll20 will close it out.
In dominant and clean fashion, man. Not even just the fact that it was a 3-0 if they end up winning this game, but it's more the way that the games have gone down, the way the kills have played out. They've just been playing so very well. But I am skeptical. This draft between the Diva and the Stukov not nearly as convincing nor comfortable as some of the other drafts here for Roll20 in that Garrosh.
Yeah, I am favoring Tempo Storm's draft as well. Looking at, well, I love the Malthael pick and where it was at, wondering how the synergy of Stukov as well as Diva is going to work out with Garrosh combos. And when Roll20 picks Greymane throughout phase number 2, generally who plays Greymane makes a big difference for the team. When Prismaticism plays Greymane, they have a winning record, but Glaurung hasn't won a game with Greymane yet, so we'll have to keep that in mind as we get into this game number 3.
I was going to say a really interesting and annoying interaction with Stukov is the thrusters on Diva and not being able to use those at all if you hit any aspect of it, but sadly the Stukov on the other side. It's just really cool. She opens it up, she thinks she's going to be able to make it out, boop everybody around, be the bully that she is, and then you're like, oh, that's immediately canceled. This is a little awkward. Laning already, though, being controlled with the 2-1-2 out of Roll20 eSports. Really smart, safe adjustment coming out from them. Even having, what do we see? A Diva Greymane 2-man down on bottom. That is not something Malthael is going to be able to deal with on his own. Very clever laning here for Roll20.
Yeah, allows them to make rotations up to the mid lane, and if they can time those right, bring along with Chromie and hope that with a throw just like this, they can get kills on Tempo Storm, and Tempo Storm comes in hoping that between Johanna and her ability to control the positioning of Roll20 and the stuns of June, that they'll be able to keep any targets who fall under fire from that rotation of Roll20 safe.
I'm really surprised to see Tempo Storm struggling so heavy into this laning. I mean, I guess for most that might seem weird that I'm saying they're struggling in the laning, but it's that they aren't dominating the laning mini waves. Like, this is the first wave where we've really seen them kind of hold their own, even getting a little bit of poke onto Buds there. Flip landing onto Fury, June throwing out the heals. And we see Johanna able to walk out. I assume we're going to see quite a bit of that here in this game. But just they aren't dominating the mini wave and dictating the rotations of Roll20 nearly as effectively as I assume they would be able to. With the Johanna Tassadar, those alone, that's pretty much a one-shot, one kill on a mini wave.
Yeah, they have a lot of wave clear between those two heroes. You can see as she goes down with the Condemned, the immediate follow-up of Psionic Storm. They're starting to find their stride here and there. Maybe just wanting to make sure that they can respond wherever Roll20 shows up with all of their members at once. But between keeping Malthael now down in the bottom lane, starting to push back D.Va because of the harassment he can put on top of her, they're moving around and getting some more done, at the very least.
I'm watching how Tempo takes on these mini waves. Hold on, we'll see a couple more. Because there's this interesting dynamic that exists with objectives on any map, really, on Heroes of the Storm. Like, when you're taking a giant camp, what's better? Do you commit 5 people to the giant camp and one-shot the camp, essentially, and then everybody rotate out to the mid lane? Or is it better to keep 2 people up a mid and then 3 people commit to the giants? Right? Like, what is time-sensitive-wise the best thing you can do rotationally? And I feel like we see a situation where Tempo Storm, because they're so fast, because they know they have good wave clear, they all want to mount up before some of the minions are even getting killed in some cases, which is slowing the rotation of, for instance, Fury. But he's the setup of the next wave, which is allowing for Roll20 to actually clear this wave, rotate back to mid, and keep it near even. This is one of those cases where, look, they're literally winning on mid, right? And so this is because they aren't rotating the 4 as a perfect 4. They're rotating it with the idea of it, but not actually executing. Those are the situations where I talk about Tempo has an advantage in their comp, but they aren't doing it.
Roll20 are also doing a really good job along with that, tanking the minion waves. Even we've seen Buds not be afraid at all to tank a minion wave so that they can't drain the ammo of the minions. Like, if you look at this, the way they're stepping out, Prismaticism, anybody is willing to hold onto that and tank the minion wave so that the tower shots don't go down. And so Tempo Storm just isn't being able to get the effectiveness out of those 2 wave clear heroes the way that we thought. Get them up so that Li Ming can start throwing some of her abilities at the towers too and breaking them down.
Justin's going to be able to gold on this. Actually, they sacrificed the turn in knowing that is going to be a full turn in there. And to be honest, I don't mind necessarily the call coming out from Roll20.
That's really early.
Yeah, exactly. It's really early, and I talked about their siege versus their wave clear. They have good wave clear, which translates to decent siege, but they don't actually have good siege when looking at Tempo Storm's composition. Like, Li Ming Poke is really the best hero at actually getting damage, and you can never rely on her as being a siege hero. So suddenly, this early Webweaver phase, the minions aren't scaling. So suddenly that wave clear isn't nearly as good. So getting this early Webweaver phase, they also don't have enough to stack a secondary turn in immediately after. And suddenly the macro concentrated composition of Tempo Storm doesn't have near the advantage by forfeiting that turn in.
There's going to be a pull and a flip. Iron Skin immediately used after to get Fury back. Inches away from having that be beyond the gate.
Chromie doing her best to rid of the top Webweaver while the rest of the members up on mid. Mid gate is all that has gone down so far for Tempo Storm, while Malthael and D.Va brawling it out up on bottom. That Webweaver's been dealt with pretty quickly too. Fury though, or excuse me, June getting flipped. Silence being thrown down by Buds, interrupted, gonna be there. Condemn and Blind thrown out. Long on the wrong side.
Yeah, disengaged on the other side of that wall, but ran the old-fashioned way back to the safety of the fort. And the Webweaver phase has now been dealt with.
That would definitely not be a situation where if I am Tempo Storm, I walk away going, we got our job done and what they wanted after that Webweaver phase ending. Just because, again, we'll look at the experience after that Webweaver phase is sitting close to even. There is a turn-in available for the members of Roll20, and they also don't have the dominant wave clear aspects of this game. But I think the biggest thing is that, wow, Psalm's not going to be, he's going to tank that all the way. He's going to go down. Their slow is still there. Oh my. Just seeing, not able to aggress any farther with Fury.
Nice job by Cawthon, his positioning and throwing out magic missiles to see if anybody from Roll20 was going to rotate in. he would dismount them and buy some extra time for Tempo Storm to escape that bottom lane. At the very least, Tempo did get a couple of front walls open, and they could try to push those waves in further to start doing the same thing to the forts. But unfortunately for them, they didn't get much of an experience advantage, and now Roll20 are the ones who are getting ready for a turn-in.
Very early Iron Skin. Expect them to try and abuse that. Justing is going to be there. The silence going to be dropped. Justing falling very, very low, relying on that armor. Solom's going to flat out ignore that. Keep in mind, but the blow up is there. Prismat hitting the skills, getting the damage, and getting first blood of this game. It's going to secure a first Webweaver phase over the members of Roll20, and they're going to be dead even in that experience. Not the early game Tempo Storm wanted, and I expect Roll20 to really turn things up now.
Som, with getting Touch of Death, as well as just being Malthael and the way that his trait works, the way the percent max health works versus armor and ignoring it, has to be dealt with like that from Roll20. When he calls the charge, when they dive in on top of Justing, and especially now that Tormented Souls is here, Roll20 has to continue to try to deal with him with the silences, with the crowd control, any possible way they can, maybe even making sure that Cursed Bullet goes onto him, because with Tormented Souls he gets that little bit of armor, and with the armor from June.
Good damage coming down. Look at the flank over that wall. Justin questioning if he wants to get that collapse. Fury being the anchor sees it, but there's mid and top Webweaver still wailing away at other aspects of the map. They need that pick onto Justin. They end up getting it. Goku comes right in. He says, thank you very much for those gems. Still a big victory, though, for Tempo Storm. The fact that this Webweaver phase was not nearly as effective as Roll20 could have made it, especially after struggling during their first Webweaver phase.
Yeah, and they did that without overcommitting all of their heroes. Tastar was in the top. Johanna's been in the mid too, clearing out as best they can those two Webweavers. They only lost some towers and the fort. So whereas Roll20 got through a turn-in, a very early turn-in of Tempo Storm, and weren't losing out in the experience advantage, Tempo's not too shabby themselves, dealing with the Webweavers of Roll20 thanks to that pick.
So we've been talking a lot about the Theorycraft and Garrosh, and this just kind of hit my brain, and I can't let it go. So I got to ask.
Top of the dome.
I feel like this is going to be not the brightest question that Dread asks on a daily basis. Does Last Rites make any, like, kind of an argument into Garrosh? Because the point of execution is the point at where his effective HP is overly deceiving. Burst is the hardest thing to find into him at low HP, and it's the spell that relies on burst at low HP. Am I crazy here? Is there a world where Last Rite has a place?
It's percentage of health. Oh, yes, because he picked it. That's not Tormented Souls.
I mean, but that's like the thought process, right? Is to eliminate the Garrosh because of that. That's how it's going to interact. So I'm not, okay, so I'm not as wild. When I first, you brought that up, I was like, you know, what if Last Rites, and then I see it picked, and I'm like, this is how that functions, right? Like, Garrosh will receive full damage there. So as long as he falls below.
Is it? Because it's 50% of missing health. Does that count as percent
I actually don't know. I've never tested that.
Oh, man. I bet we're going to find, maybe we'll find out for some tweets.
I mean,
People that start using the hashtag HGC.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can, you know, educate your casters. Because I have never seen that. Yeah, the fact that this is technically max percentile health, but it's not like reading in the tooltip, and it's not coded maybe directly as that. I'm ready to see.
The more you know.
Either way, for anybody who doesn't know how Last Rites works, is essentially it deals damage equal to 50% of the target's missing health after the 2-second threshold. So that means that if you end up getting the target at 33% HP, because it does 50% of their missing, in fact, exactly 33, it's 100% a kill. Everything above that threshold, you cannot rely on the kill. And that is how, you know, good old Last Rites works out. Even better, one of the few quest talents in the game where you actually can reduce the cooldown of Last Rites.
Now, Justing has double up, which gives you those 3 seconds of double the armor. So again, it just comes down to whether or not that punches through it in the way that we know percent max health to do. But it's really cool adaptation to see Tempo Storm trying this out, bringing it in, even though they are down 2 games versus Garrosh. But like you said, the burst at the end is always the really hard part. The closer that he is to being dead because of the way that the armor works, the harder it can be to get that burst because of how much damage it's negating.
The only other time I've seen Last Rites taken is to Cho'Gall, and that is it.
And that did not work out the best.
Yeah, sad days.
But I am hopeful for it here.
I am too, actually. I'm very excited to see at least Tempo with letting the Garrosh through this draft, which I talked about, I mean, probably too much at this point. at least there was an adjustment in the game directly with the high Malthael and then a Last Rites selection. Like everything about this, you can see the thought process. June getting flipped and taunted on in. The combo, the silence, everything done right. Roll20 keeps rolling on through, finding another kill. Now Fury dropping the iron spin. That condemn, maybe not the one he wanted.
Into the fray, right on top of him, but Fury stays alive still. Flailing swipe, bailing Glaurung out of trouble for now, but Cottonluck jumping on top of him, hoping that he can get that extra bit of health from Dominance. The silence.
He walks away, but still the thrusters of Goku. It's enough to give him the boop and more importantly the kill. 3 gems away. Nice drag. Saw him out of position. The Dragon's Breath thrown down. He's trying to get the kite. Goku saying you're not going to get on through here.
Last Rites.
And they end up dropping it.
Oh.
With no kill gained.
No.
My goodness, what did we just witness in that skirmish?
I don't know.
I'm going to be honest, half of that, I was just, what's going on here?
All I did was watch Psalm, like, in the cooldown of Last Rites, looking for that Reaper.
Tempo has got to find something here in these fights. They're struggling on macro. They're struggling when it comes to structural integrity. 40 of their gems exist there on Fury. Not the target you want to be the gem collector. We often talk about the trade-off of having your warrior be in the front line and soaking all those gems. Cattle needs to take as many as he possibly can. A perfect target to be able to hold gems because hard to kill and also a backliner. Nice force wall, the stuns. They should have it. AoE taunt's going to be thrown down. Time track, no way.
He used double up, he used double up. It's already down. They're still chasing. One more condemn. Cotton's there. Disintegrate. Oh, nice. Takes him out with a Calamity.
But look down here below. Prismat's receiving pressure coming out from Psalm. Last Rites coming online in 7 more seconds. Cotton gonna get the mount up. Glaurung's in a bad spot. He gets the E onto the minion. Go ahead and swipe right away. Dragon's Breath thrown. Another beautiful damage. Mecha.
Wow.
Primed perfectly.
That was good. Fury still separated. The force walls working out a little bit against them, but there they had the flailing swipe pushing Fury down. Roll20 would love to take out Fury and bring away. There's the Last Rites. Stukov brought down, but the cocktail.
That divine shield. Oh, but the big shot. She gets it. She ends up finding herself the kill. Glaurung's not done. He's going to go through, ripping through. He's got a disengage and a Q, but he missed the cursed bullet. Perfect use, actually, allowing him to get the E reset immediately. That was really brilliantly done by Glaurung. Didn't seem like a big play, but that was really smart.
Yes. The back and forth of that fight was absolutely amazing, but at the end of it, Roll20 finds themselves with a big advantage. They have the minion wave, the mercenary camp pushing toward this first keep to take it down, and with the siege, they will get it.
First keep of the game has gone down. Tempo, they're going to be able to get their 16 Talonteers over the next 30 seconds. The gems are very much still catering towards Roll20 with 50 turned in. They're going to get 9 here on Goku. And they got Greymane dumping a couple of coins up on top. So another Web Weaver phase, but again, the 16 is the biggest thing to talk about here. They are going to be pressured onto one keep, but they need to be successful over defending it or a boss afterwards or the top 4. The biggest thing here is they can't let the Web Weavers just siege up and get a lot of damage output, because otherwise Roll20 will abuse the 20 advantage that's going to happen immediately after this. Adjusting. Immediate Blessed Shield, the Force Wall, the damage, it's enough. They find it, Tempo Storm, they get the pick that they need, and Roll20 unable to answer here. They're looking like they're going to get the chase down, though. Maybe keep them busy.
Tempo now can at least know that they can defend these Web Weavers without a potential pull in and a throwback, a taunt, follow-up from Garrosh, but it's still scary. The amount of siege that Roll20 can get done directly impacts them being able to get 20 well ahead of Tempo Storm. With that tower jumps ahead. Web Weavers sieging both in mid and on bottom. Mid, there's no keep to worry about at this point, but will need to be cleaned up at some point. Roll20 will continue to siege onto this keep, despite Garrosh not being here for 3 more seconds, still has to run all the way across the map.
Fury's moving up, Curse Bullet doesn't land. June's trying to go in, they hit the time trap. Buds gets the slow, gets even a silence. No, he's gonna mount up, no dismount. And it looks like Roll20, they get what they want, they get out, and now we've got to be focusing all about the race to 20 as 19 is going to be here for Roll20 in 5 more seconds, and 100 gems in the hands of Tempo Storm. They absolutely need to get this done and make something happen before that 20 spike hits, or we could expect a boss and gained for Roll20.
Losing Garrosh, though, at that moment might be what comes back to haunt Roll20 if Tempo Storm can get this turn in prior to Roll20 getting 20. They're starting to step forward onto the point. Again, it's Fury who has 51 gems.
Fury's the only one with enough gems to get a singular turn in on his own. We find Cattle rounding out pretty close, but not enough. If you have two targets that can do that, hold on a minute here. The mecha is going to be used. Nice dash away. Good flip coming out from Justin. Fury takes a lot of damage. He gets flipped back. And that's 50 gems. They're on the ground. Tempo Storm just lost half the bank that they had left to try and recover in this game.
So well done. The combo that we've been watching to see happen for Roll20. Dropping the mecha, tossing it forward into the fray, and then after the damage spike from that, knowing that that was enough to bring Fury back. We're going to watch it again.
Exactly. I mean, look at Goku getting the bait out there. The fact he was able to survive, but then there it is. The flip right on in. Everything about Roll20. They give you one threat, you make you consider that, and then whenever that happens, Justin is there to make it really be punished. The turn-in attempt here up on bottom. Kato does not have enough on his own. Great job coming out from Prismac. Able to hit that interrupt while the boss has been taken by Roll20 on top. Tempo Storm's trying to retreat, but Roll20's just going to get the dismount. They know they have a huge advantage. Divine
Shield has to be used just to bail Psalm out, and it's already been done. Goku's still on the chase. All of Roll20 barreling down. The boss is up in the top. The longer Roll20 can keep Tempo Storm from defending that. The mortal due to the keep. Roll20 on the cusp of level 20.
And now Roll20 is going to move into that bottom keep, knowing that top keep is going to be where Tempo Storm's going with the boss. They see Johanna and only Johanna. Nobody else is shown. There we see a reveal over a few more members. Malthael displaying himself through mid. That top keep still being beat on. Tempo Storm wants this fight. They're trying to force it, but the 20 is already here. That's not the fight they want. Glaron goes in. He gets the kill. The taunt drop onto Fury. No Iron Skin, no Indestructible. She's going down. Goku's got himself a mecha explosion, but Roll20 has found themselves this keep.
Roll20 drops the self-destruct just to bring down the final keep here in the bottom. The boss taking out the one in the top. Will they move forward onto the core? The boss is there, fairly low in health, all but dealt with. But even still, there's no Johanna for 34 seconds as the shields start to fall. Roll20 steps forward, moving on to the core. They're bringing it down to 80% and still falling. Flailing Swipe pushes all of Tempo Storm away from the damage dealers, bringing it even further and further down. Tempo Storm cannot defend this keep. Roll20 will be able to bring it down, bring down the core, and win 3-0 over Tempo Storm, just like they predicted.
Making easy work of what was a long-standing top team in the